suppose, look, after the warm weather, even, last weekend gone, plenty of people have already had their first dip of the year. And I suppose I just wanted to talk about a few things for people to keep in mind before they might head down to the beach, if that's all right. So the first one is water temperature, because I suppose the air is warming up much faster than the sea at this time of the year, and the water around the Clare coast is still only about 10 degrees, which realistically is sort of only just really above winter levels. So the cold it's cold enough to trigger really what we call cold water shock, which is an involuntary gasp, a spike in your heart rate, and sort of essentially hyperventilation for about the first minute. So this can happen to even strong swimmers as more than anybody else. So it's just something to be aware of in terms of an unexpected entry into the water. And this is really exactly why we teach everybody float to live. So we want you to tilt your head back, ears in the water, relax your breathing and ride it out. And your nervous system should settle within about 90 seconds. Then you can call for help and swim to safety. So it's really a strong technique that we're trying to push out that everybody can get used to. The second thing, and this is quite important, is that there's no lifeguards and duties in any of the Clare beaches this weekend. The service doesn't generally start until mid-May, and then some smaller beaches coming into June. So if you're heading down to the water with children this weekend, you're the lifeguard. That's your job. Eyes on the water, phone down, one adult watching at a time, and rotate roles so people can take breaks. So for the small ones, the rule is constant, uninterrupted, within arm's reach. And there's a reason why it's arm's reach, essentially, because drowning is silent. There's no shouting, splashing, and it's very quick. So a small child, it's very difficult to try and teach the float to live message, because they'll generally gasp or panic and go under. So this arm's reach message is a realistic distance. And then you can try and teach your kids as well the SAFE acronym to stay away from edges, which is also quite important. And then finally, um, if you see somebody in trouble, yourself, a child, anyone, remember to phone, float, and throw. So call 999 or 112 and ask for the Coast Guard. Encourage them to float, and then throw anything that floats, whether it's a fender, a ball, or a cool bag, and just get them to hold on to it. So that's essentially our sort of messaging now coming up to this weekend.
And I suppose there's a couple of safety measures that you can take before heading out, in terms of making sure you have that communication device, that phone, and telling people your plans before heading out.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's that time of year too as well. People. Well, I suppose the unexpected good weather. The last week has sort of put momentum on people, even to get their boats in the water, and we can't forget about the maintenance of vessels, etc., to make sure that you have all your safety devices. You've checked that there's no contamination or water in the water in your fuel, because that can be quite a problematic issue, whereby the first run out with your boat at the start of the season, you haven't checked your fuel tank, and there's been water or condensation, etc., in the tank, which can lead to a breakdown in your engine, and you may require assistance from the RNLI or other organisations. And I suppose we've seen this time and time again, whereby a situation that might start as maybe quite trivial, and the weather turns or the conditions change, or there's or a party, not a party per se, but a member of your crew on the boat becomes unwell. Things can change quite quickly. So we would much prefer to be called out to a situation where it's a false alarm with good intent, because every minute matters in these cases. So so I would encourage your listeners, if they do see somebody in trouble, or they feel they're in trouble themselves, don't hesitate to call 999 and 112 and ask for the Coast Guard, because we would always like to answer to a false alarm as opposed to a potential tragedy.
I was going to say it goes without saying, but maybe there's no harm in saying it if you are out on a boat or anything such as that over the weekend as well, to make sure there's life jackets on hand, and enough life jackets for everybody as well.
Yeah, of course. Look, these are basic seamanship type rules in terms of making sure that the people on your vessel or your boat are safe, and even in the context of the good weather that we've been having. If people are paddle boarding, for example, like look, wear your life jacket, carry a mobile phone in a pouch, have a means of communication all the time. And then similarly, if you are traveling around the country this coming weekend, whether it is to Clare or you're in Clare and you're going further afield, try and gather that piece of local knowledge if you want to, if you want to go swimming, because you know each area in the country is different. It's got its different currents and tidal flows, for example, and how wind conditions affect it. So there are people in these areas that are going swimming every day. Ask the question: is it safe to go in here? you know and just going back to the message, that there are no lifeguards on duty this weekend, so be very conscious of that. And as I said, you are the lifeguard yourself and to your kids, and just have that constant uninterrupted supervision, and keep your kids at arm's length, keep the phones down.